Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Homage to the Blessed One, the Worthy One, the Supremely Enlightened One. Sadhu, Sadhu, Sadhu. Homage to our teacher, most venerable, Pinnath Loksan Hanse. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Okay. Dear Dhamma friends, and we know that when we practice this Dhamma path, we understand that we are suffering from long journey of Sankhārā, death and birth. And we have been born all the possible places in hell, animal world, ghost world, asura world, all the bad places except for 5 pure abodes or that 5 Brahma worlds. So we all like to escape this long journey of Sankhārā, and only way to do that, we have to attain at least Sotapanna. We have to be Sotapanna or stream entrant, right? To avoid to be born into bad destination, animal world, hell, asura world, and ghost world. Now, the one of the sutta we are going to study today, very helpful to analyze what is happening in our life, why we are roaming in this long journey of death and birth, right? So this is called Parivīmaṁsanasutta, right? This called that thorough investigation, Parivīmaṁsanasutta. We are going to study this one. This is in Sankhārā Nikāya. So I'm going to share with you that sutta, Sankhārā Nikāya, book number 2, 51 sutta, thorough investigation. So, and Anandabhante is reporting that sutta, thus have I heard, to the second Sangha Council. You all know that second Sangha Council was held after Buddha attained Parinibbana, after the 3 months, Buddha's Parinibbana, final passing away. So that Anandabhante was chanting all the suttas in front of all these 500 enlightened monks. So that's why that Anandabhante was saying, thus have I heard. That time Supreme Buddha was living at Savatthi in Jetavana Monastery, Anathapindika's park. That is the place Buddha most of the time, maximum percentage of sutta he preached in that location. Okay. So, you know that Buddha, when the time comes, he used to go for journey, you know that from city to city, other cities. We learned here last time, Tulita Charika and Atulita Charika. Tulita Charika means that using psychic powers, he just appeared, he disappeared from some place and appeared another place to help for urgent help for monks and other devotees or other people. Atulita Charika, he travels on his own foot, and people get the chance to offer dana and worship and listen to Dhamma talk and these things. Now, at that time, Buddha was living Anathapindika's park. So, he came to the assembly hall and he addressed all the bhikkhus and saying, "Bhikkhus." All the bhikkhus replied saying, "Venerable Sir." So that time Supreme Buddha said this one. Okay. Bhikkhus, when a bhikkhu is making a thorough investigation, in what way should he thoroughly investigate for the utterly complete destruction of suffering? You know that we have suffering in this life. Like, what is the suffering? Usually we don't like to talk about that. When you live, that there is a suffering in this life, either we talk or either we see or not, there's a suffering. The suffering is we are getting older, aging, because we cannot stop that. Just we like it. I mean, we don't like to get older. We cannot stop it, and we are getting sickness. We cannot stop it, and we have to associate that bad things, and we have to associate bad people we don't like, and we have to separate from our loved ones, and we are experiencing death. We cannot stop dying. Why we all these are experiencing all this suffering? Because of the birth. So usually when we think about, oh, I don't like to be born, then most of people think, oh, what will happen to me in that case if I'm not be born? So what would happen? They always think about that. So, but that thought is coming because of the our delusion, ignorance. We don't know, right? What is happening in this birth? What will happen when we were born? We were born because our birth. We are experiencing aging. We are experiencing sickness. We are experiencing death. We have to associate with the people we don't like, things we don't like. We have to separate from the loved ones and loved things, right? So, and we have to die. So then, so Buddha asked this one, how someone investigates thoroughly for complete destruction of suffering. Then monks said, "Venerable Sir, our teaching are rooted in the Blessed One, guided by Blessed One." They did not jump and tell, "No, we know that." So they said they gave the priority for the Buddha, right? Take resource in the Blessed One. It would be good if the Blessed One would clear up the meaning of this statement. Having heard it from him, the bhikkhus will remember it. So when that monks heard from the Buddha this explanation, they can remember it. Okay, so they want that Buddha to preach them and teach them. Okay, then that time Buddha said, "Then listen and attend closely, because I will speak." Okay, Buddha is going to speak now. "Yes, Venerable Sir," the bhikkhus replied. "The Blessed One said this."
Here, bhikkhus, when he makes a thorough investigation, a bhikkhu thoroughly investigates thus: the many diverse kinds of suffering that arise in the world, headed by aging and death. What is the source of this suffering? What is its origin? From what is it born and produced? When what exists, does aging and death come to be? When what does not exist, does aging and death not come to be?
Yeah. So that Buddha is asking that aging and death. So we are experiencing aging and death. Everyone who was born into here. So what is the source for this suffering? What is its origin? From what is it born and produced? When what exists, does aging and death come to be? And what does not exist, does aging and death not come to be? Right? So, and This is the way of analyzing. And so Buddha explain now.
As he thoroughly investigates, he understands thus: the many diverse kinds of suffering that arise in the world, headed by aging and death. This suffering has birth as its source, birth as its origin. It is born and produced from birth. When there is birth, aging and death comes to be. When there is no birth, aging and death does not come to be.
Yeah, if there is any birth, because of the birth is the source for the suffering, right? However, we are experiencing death and aging and death because that what is the source? What is the source of that one? That's because of the birth. Okay, and you know that when you are aging, we are in the young age. We don't think about that we are going to experience when we get older. When you're getting older, what are the suffering you are experiencing? You cannot stand by yourself, and you can go. You can do your things by yourself. You can see that your faculties are reduced, and you cannot see very well. You cannot hear very well. Even you cannot go to the washroom yourself. Sometimes they pass urine and there are stools on the bed, right? So without any other help, you cannot go. You can do anything. Some people all of a sudden they got up. Their ears are not. They cannot hear. Sometimes all of a sudden they cannot see, right? So then all these kind of things, they are suffering because they are not beautiful like earlier, and they can see wrinkles on their skin face, right? Even though they do that plastic surgeries, but still we cannot do. We cannot stop. Okay, the birth is the resource of that one. Okay, now let's go a little bit further.
He understands aging and death, its origin, its cessation, the way leading on that is in conformity with its cessation. He practices that way and conducts himself accordingly. This is called a bhikkhu who is practicing for the utterly complete destruction of suffering, for the cessation of aging and death.
So he understands aging and death, its origin, its cessation, and the way leading to the it is in conformity with this cessation. So if there's no birth, there's no aging and death, right? So because of the birth, we have aging and death. Because the resource of birth, there's no birth, but there is if you can remove the birth, we are not going to experience aging and death. But there's a path to follow to remove this birth, right? That is called Eight Noble Path. So if there's anything in this world with the Sankhārā Dhamma, so something is born with a reason, and from all the gems, with the all the gems or any other valuable things in this world, the valuable thing would explain in this Sankhārā Dhamma that some reason, something born the reason, that is called Eight Noble Path, right? Eight Noble Path. So then he investigates further. He thoroughly investigates. Okay, now that all these things, someone can read.
I can read, Bhante.
Yes.
Then investigating further, he thoroughly investigates thus: what is the source of this birth? What is its origin from? What is it born and produced? What is the source of this existence, this clinging, this craving, this feeling, this contact, these 6 sense bases, this name and form, this consciousness? What is the source of these volitional formations? What is their origin? From what are they born and produced? When what exist do volitional formations come to be? When what does not exist do volitional formations not come to be?
Right. So so this is the way that all the dependent origination would explain. Now, keeping this one just to understand all these each and every step, right? Starting from birth, we'll go to I will share with you different slide, right? Okay, this one dependent origination, which is called Paticcasamuppada. Buddha is trying to explain here Paticcasamuppada. So there's a source of death, why it is happening, that aging and death. And there's a reason for aging and death. And when he thoroughly investigates, he found, so the birth is the reason for aging and death, right? So then when he thoroughly investigates, he understands what is birth and what is resource and its existence and the cessation and the path to cease that birth. Okay, so there are 4 types of birth. Beings will be all these forming in this long journey on Sankhārā. They will be born in egg, right? It's called egg born. You can see some birds and some snakes, they will be born into egg. Some beings, they will be born into moisture environment. It's called moisture born. Some beings will be born into womb born. Then, for example, human will be born in from womb born, maximum percentage, and spontaneous born. So what is the meaning of spontaneous born? They just die from here, appear there without mother and father. For hell, beings will be born into spontaneous born. And ghost world, they will be born into spontaneous born. And heavenly world, they will be born into heavenly world, Brahma world, spontaneous born. Sometimes very less percentage, 0.01%, they will be born into human world, right? So, so some beings were born, and we know that in the Buddha's time, someone was born into few ones born into human world. That is called spontaneous born, without mother and father, just appeared there with a good karma or bad karma. Okay, so there are some animal world, some beings, they will have these 4 types of born, like some snakes. They have egg born, moisture born, womb born, sometimes spontaneous born, right? Naga world. So this is the birth. These are 4 types of birth. And when somebody is thoroughly investigate, he has to find out why it is birth, right? What is the reason for this birth, and where it is originated from. And when he thoroughly investigate, he understood that, okay, there is a Bhava. Bhava is called arranging of kamma. This, because of the arranging of kamma, beings will be born into this different environment: egg born, moisture born, womb born, or spontaneous born. Arranging of kamma. So this is called in Pali, it is Bhava, arranging of kamma, to be born into other environment. So there's a possibility that arranging kamma will arrange to be born into sensual world, right? The sensual world is the world that all the bad worlds, that hell, animal world, ghost world, astral world, and human world, and all the 6 heavenly worlds. This is called sensual world. The beings will arrange the kamma to be born into sensual world from their activity, right? Either they are bodily, verbal, or mental activities. The form world is all the Brahma world, right? So there are 16 Brahma world. That's called form world. They arrange the kamma to be born there. And formless world, all the 4 formless world. That is, Akasanyayatana, infinite space, infinite consciousness world, nothingness, neither perception nor non-perception world, formless world. right? So arranging of kamma. So what is the reason for arranging of kamma? When somebody investigate thoroughly, so he found there's a reason, there's origin, there's a source to arrange kamma, or that Bhava, to be born into sensual world, form world, or formless world. Then he found the clinging is the reason for arranging of kamma to sensual pleasure. The clinging is, there are 4 types of clinging. Cling to sensual pleasure and wrong views and behaviors and observance, that's called wrong practices, and the notion of me, mine, and myself. I am, mine, and myself view. So the clinging is the reason for arranging of kamma. Okay. So somebody thoroughly investigate, he understood, okay, what is the reason for clinging? So craving. So craving for sensual pleasures, craving for existence, and craving for non-existence. And there's a reason for craving as well. What are the reason for the craving? Then somebody thoroughly investigate, he found the source where it is coming, this craving. And feelings. What are the feelings? We have feelings for forms, feelings for sounds, feelings for taste, tangibles, and thoughts. And if you go further, what is the reason for feelings, right? What is the source, why it is happening, all the feelings? Then somebody investigate, he found the contact is the reason for feeling. Contact with eye, at ear, nose, tongue, and body. How we can that, what is the contact that, for example, when we have eye, the in front of our eye, if there's any form comes in front of our eye, with our intention, it will generate the eye consciousness, right? The unification of these 3, eye, form, and eye consciousness, is called the contact of eye. The same thing, ear, if the sound is there, if we have attention, it will generate the ear consciousness. The unification of these 3 is called the unification of ear, sound, and ear consciousness is called ear contact. And same thing, nose contact, tongue contact, body contact, and mind contact. Okay. So, and with this contact, the feeling will come, right? For the feeling for forms with eye that eye contact. So feeling for the forms will come. Then when somebody with the Supreme Buddha's teaching, thoroughly investigate how it is happened, that what is contact come to be, what is its source, where it is originated, right? So then he found, okay, because of 6 sense bases, the reason for this contact. What are the 6 sense bases? Eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, and mind. Those are faculties. Faculties are the reason for all these contact. Then how this? Then what is the source for these 6 sense bases? What is where it is originated? Those 6 sense bases is called mentality and materiality. Sometimes it's called name and form. So mentality. When we consider mentality, there are 5 things in the mentality: feeling, perception, volitional formation, contact, and attention. Okay, so if we consider in eye, without attention, it doesn't generate the contact. So that with the contact, all the feeling, perception, volitional formation will create. Then materiality is 4 great elements: earth element, water element, heat element, and air element. I just briefly explain all these things, right? So before we go to other things. So therefore, the reason for 6 sense bases is mentality and materiality. And there's a source for this reason for mental and materiality. And with Buddha's teaching, somebody analyzed the source and origination of this mental and materiality is called consciousness. Because of consciousness, this mentality and materiality will originate. Whereas the consciousness will happen. It will happen in our eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, and mind. And and there's a reason for this consciousness, right? There's a source for this consciousness. There's a place originated this consciousness that is called volitional formation, bodily formation, verbal formation, and mental formation. And bodily formation, in breath and out breath, right? So bodily formation, because it is everything is attached to our body, the in breath and out breath. Verbal formation, thought and sustained thought, because we talk with the thought and sustained thought. Mental formation, feeling and perception. All these things are happening because of the ignorance. There is a source for this one, ignorance. What is the ignorance? Not knowing the Four Noble Truths. And because of the ignorance now, what will happen? Somebody create the volitional formation. With the ignorance and volitional formation, the consciousness is happening. And with the ignorance, volitional formation, consciousness, mentality and materiality is happening. Because of all these four, the six sense basis is happening. You can see one thing is very common in these things. All these volitional formations, ignorance is there. Consciousness is ignorance is there. Mentality and materiality, ignorance is there. The six sense basis, all these faculties, ignorance is there. And contact, the ignorance is there. And feeling, ignorance is there. Okay. If we further investigate on this each and every one, right? So you know that aging and death, in Pali it is called Jara Marana Soka Parideva Dukkha Domanassa Upayasa, right? So, and mainly aging and death, all these suffering will come over with the Jara Marana, which is called aging and death. And so when we go to the resource, birth, as we discussed, birth, egg born, moisture born, womb born, and spontaneous born, right? So some animal world, they have all these four types of birth, but human, we have only womb born, and what's very less percentage is spontaneous born. This is the place beings will be born, right? So, and the reason for this birth, arranging of kamma, which is called Bhava. So we can create with our bodily, mentally, and verbal act to be born into sensual world, form world, and formless world, right? So all the hell and ghost world, animal world, and asura world, it is in sensual world and including human world, and also all the six their world to be born into all this world. That's called Bhava, arranging of kamma. Because of Bhava, we will be born into any environment. The birth, you know that it because of karma, we will be born into animal world. So it is we will be born into an egg, moisture birth, womb birth, or spontaneous birth. Now, if you go to what's the reason for this one? The clinging is due to the clinging, we will arrange the kamma. So there are four types of clinging. Clinging to sensual pleasure, and clinging to wrong views, and clinging to wrong practices, behaviors, and observances, and clinging to notion of me, mine, and myself. So you can see that in red color that I mentioned that. So in Nettipakarana, Mahakacchana Bhante is the one foremost for analyzing all these Buddha's teaching. In his book, he explained or sensual pleasure, that clinging is happening because of the craving. Okay, so but however, all this craving, that there are some certain things is dominating these few things. If you think about sensual pleasure, the craving is dominating this sensual pleasure. And if you consider behavior and observance, it is dominated by craving for this clinging. And wrong views, it is because of ignorance is the dominating factor. And notion of me, mine, myself, it is also ignorance is the dominating factor. Okay, so you can see that when you analyze really well in this paticca samuppada or dependent origination, the ignorance and craving is totally connected each other, right? If somebody destroys ignorance, he can destroy, he will destroy craving as well. If somebody destroy craving, he will destroy ignorance as well. So because of that, this hindered by ignorance and fettered by craving, we were roaming all these, we were creating this paticca or dependent origination, and we were roaming from one existence to another existence. So clinging to sensual pleasure, wrong views, behavior and observances, and notion of me, mine, and myself. Okay, so somebody became sotapanna, he will destroy some of the clingings, some of the attachment. What are those attachment? If you can recall, if somebody became sotapanna, stream entrant, he will destroy that 2 clingings. What are those 2 clingings? He will destroy that wrong views
and behavior observance.
Behavior and observance.
Rites and rituals.
But still he has or she has sensual pleasure and notion of me, mine, and myself. Somebody became non-returner, anagami. How many that clingings he will destroy here? If sotapannas or the that stream entrance, if they remove that wrong view, behavior, and observances, so still they have 2 things remaining: sensual pleasure and notion of me, mine, and myself. Is there any Bhava, arranging of kamma?
Yes,
there is a kamma. Yeah, because of the arranging of kamma, they will be born into another birth. But however, they won't be born into bad destination, hell, animal world, or ghost world. But maximum, they will be born only 7 times. There's no 8 times maximum. Or else they will be born into next existence. They will understand the Dhamma, or they will be understanding Dhamma 2nd or 3rd existence, right? Kola. So, so they will destroy this one. But somebody became managami, non-returner. How many of them they will remove? The clinging.
3 clingings, Swaminathan.
Which one? Clinging, yes, clinging.
3 clingings will be due to craving, sensual pleasure.
Yeah, so he will remove sensual pleasure and
wrong views,
behavior
and observance.
But still he is having notion of me, mine, and myself, and because of that reason, he will be born only for pure abodes, right? So, and he will be having 5 things, 5 fetters: last 4 form, last 4 formless, conceit, restlessness, and ignorance, right? So, and so therefore that he will be born into only 5 Brahma world. Avya, Tappa, Sudassa, Sudassi, Akanittaka, clinging to all these world, that form world, right? Pure worlds. Only Anagamis will be born. And the clinging, there's a reason for clinging. What's the reason for clinging? And we know that craving, okay? Craving craving for sensual pleasure, right? So, and craving for existence. They like to exist for forever, right? And this is also craving. They have craving for non-existence. They don't like to exist, right? So, and therefore they sometimes some people they practice that not to feel all the faculties. Right? They meditate for not to feel all the faculties. They will be born into unconscious world, right? So they are like sleeping in that Brahma world. 500 eons like that they will be living there. Was craving. What's the reason for craving? And what's the source? What is it originated? Feelings, right? The feelings and feeling for forms and feeling for sounds, smell, taste, tangibles, and thoughts. The one thing is that all the regular worldlings, all these the people, those who did not understand or those who are not enlightened, they have one thing all with these feelings. What are the things? Because feeling will come with the contact. So all the feelings, they are connected with one thing. What is that one thing? Because of ignorance will there, right? Ignorance will there. Okay, that feeling for form, sounds, smell, taste, tangible, and thoughts. And the reason for these feelings, contact with form, sound, smell, taste, tangibles, and thoughts, right? So contact means, tinna sangati passo, the unification of three things that contact will come that in front of our eye. So form will come with our attention. It will generate eye consciousness. It will generate the contact, right? Unification of that three thing. What are the three things? Eye, form, and consciousness is a contact. So contact with form, sound, smell, taste, tangible, and thoughts. That's the contact. Eye contact, ear contact, nose contact, tongue contact, body contact, and mind contact. And all these things are happening in the 6 sense bases, right? Eye faculty, ear faculty, nose faculty, tongue faculty, body faculty, and mind faculty, right? So this is the reason, this is a source for this contact. So when you analyze thoroughly 6 sense bases, and the resource for this one, 6 sense bases, and this mentality and materiality is the reason for these 6 sense bases. Mentality sometimes in the books it is mentioned that name, feeling, perception, volitional formation, contact, and attention, right? Because without attention, it doesn't create the contact, and without contact, the feeling, perception, volitional formation doesn't happen. This is in the mentality and materiality. So all these faculties will create because of the reason with the mental and materiality. Materiality is earth element, water element, heat element, and air element. Okay. So there's a reason for that mental and materiality, where this is originated. Consciousness. Consciousness will develop in eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, and mind. Right? This is the consciousness. And there's a reason for consciousness, which is called volitional formation. In Pali, it's called Sankhārā. Then in that chart, we mentioned bodily formation, in-breath and out-breath, verbal formation, thought and sustained thought, mental formation, feeling and perception, right? And also sometimes mention meritorious volitional formation. We have things to create the meritorious things, right? Do the meritorious things. You do that verbal or bodily, verbal, and mental action to create good karma, meritorious activity. It will create the good karma. And demeritorious volitional formation. We do that bad things, so breaking the precepts and active bodily, verbal, and mental formation to collect bad karma, demeritorious volitional formation. And And third one, imperturbable volitional formation. So this is called that developing jhana. Somebody develops jhana, that is the highest level of concentration, which is called the jhana. So somebody develops the jhana, that is called imperturbable volitional formation, right? To be born into Brahma world. This is called volitional formation. All these birth, all the, either bodily formation, verbal formation, mental formation, right? We act, so bodily act, verbal act, or mental act, all these things are happening because with the source of one thing. What is that one thing? Because of the ignorance. Ignorance means not knowing the Four Noble Truths, right? So when we don't know the Four Noble Truths, we have ignorance for everything, right? In our contact with the ignorance, and our feeling is with the ignorance, right? And it is with the craving, and it is another clinging. All right. So, and if you go through again this one, and again that okay, let me go to previous one. So because of the ignorance, not knowing Four Noble Truths, right, it will happen volitional formation, right? Because of the volitional formation, it will generate consciousness, right? So because of the consciousness, it will generate mentality and materiality. Because of the mentality and materiality, it generate 6 sense bases, and because of the 6 sense bases, it will create the contact. And all these things, you can see that volitional formation, ignorance is there, consciousness, ignorance is there, and mental and materiality, ignorance is there, and 6 sense bases. We have 6 sense bases. We are not eliminated ignorance from our 6 sense bases. In contact, we have eye contact, ear contact, nose contact, tongue contact, body contact, and mind contact. We have ignorance over there. And feelings, we have ignorance over there. Then feelings, with the feelings that because of feeling, craving will be there. Because of craving, that clinging will be there. Then arranging of kamma to be born into a different destination. Then birth will happen. So with the birth, all these aging and death will be happen, right? So this is the basically that Buddha was explaining. Now let us go to the sutta, try to understand sutta.
As he thoroughly investigates, he understands thus. Volitional formations have ignorance as their source, ignorance as their origin. They are born and produced from ignorance. When there is ignorance, volitional formations come to be. When there is no ignorance, volitional formations do not come to be.
So
he understands volitional formations, their origin, their cessation, and the way leading on that is in conformity with their cessation. He practices that way and conducts himself accordingly. This is called a bhikkhu who is practicing for the utterly complete destruction of suffering, for the cessation of volitional formations.
What is the way to follow to totally destruction of all these volitional formation? 8 noble path. 8 noble path is the way.
Bhikkhus, if a person immersed in ignorance generates a meritorious volitional formation, consciousness fares on to the meritorious. If he generates a demeritorious volitional formation, consciousness fares on to the demeritorious. If he generates an imperturbable volitional formation, consciousness fares on to the imperturbable. But when a bhikkhu has abandoned ignorance and aroused true knowledge, then with the fading away of ignorance and the arising of true knowledge, he does not generate a meritorious volitional formation, or a demeritorious volitional formation, or an imperturbable volitional formation. Since he does not generate or fashion volitional formations, he does not cling to anything in the world. Not clinging, he is not agitated. Not being agitated, he personally attains nibbana. He understands, destroyed his birth, the holy life has been lived, what had to be done has been done, there is no more for this state of being.
So what can happen, somebody understand Four Noble Truths, he destroys all the ignorance. From the ignorance, when somebody destroys ignorance after he attaining Nibbana, he does not develop his good karma or bad karma, right? So that meritorious volitional formations. So even though that he doesn't need those good karma, it doesn't happen that to be born into good destination or bad destination or Brahma world, because he's already destroyed that ignorance. Then therefore there's not it is not possible the person to be born into that sensual world, form world, or formless world, right? So he does not develop all these meritorious or demeritorious volitional formation or imperceptible volitional formation.
If he feels a pleasant feeling, he understands it is impermanent. He understands it is not held to. He understands it is not delighted in. If he feels a painful feeling, he understands it is impermanent. He understands it is not held to. He understands it is not delighted in. If he feels a neither painful nor pleasant feeling, he understands it is impermanent. He understands it is not held to. He understands it is not delighted in.
Yes, so this is about enlightened monks, right? So, and if he feels anything from eyes, ears, even though he attained Nibbana, so still, so that when he see forms, he can see that it's beautiful, but there's no ignorance there, right? There's no hold in it, right? To recall again, and that sometimes people, when they see the forms, after that they store there, right? So with the ignorance, with the lust, right, with the craving, so they recall again and again and again. So when they hear the sounds, when they smell from nose and this taste or tangibles, they recall again and again. But however, enlightened monks, if he feels a pleasant feeling, he understands it is impermanent. So this ignorance is not there, craving is not there. He understands it is not held to. He can recall, but he has a memory. However, there's no ignorance with that. He understands it's not delighting. If he feels a painful feeling, still he has a body. He feels painful feeling. He understands it is impermanent. Again, that it is conditioned. He knows that it is conditioned and subject to change. It's impermanent. He understands it is not held to. He understands it is not delighted in. If he feels neither painful nor pleasant feeling, he understands it is impermanent. He understands it is not. It is nothing to hold. So he knows that is a condition and subject to change. Okay.
If he feels a pleasant feeling, he feels it detached. If he feels a painful feeling, he feels it detached. If he feels a neither painful nor pleasant feeling, he feels it detached.
So all the feelings from eye, ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind, he knows that all these things are impermanent. Therefore, the detachment is there. So regular worldings, what will happen? There is an attachment there, right? Attachment with the craving. Attachment is there. All the things we sense from our sense faculties. Okay.
When he feels a feeling terminating with the body, he understands, I feel a feeling terminating with the body. When he feels a feeling terminating with life, he understands, I feel a feeling terminating with life. He understands, with the breakup of the body, following the exhaustion of life, all that is felt, not being delighted in, will become cool right here. Mere bodily remains will be left.
Okay. So even though when he's attaining Parinibbana, he knows that it's breaking up the body. So you know that in sometimes in the past in Sri Lanka that we in the Anuradhapura era, sometimes there was a drought. The people came and sometimes they killed enlightened monks because they did not have food. Sometimes that the monks, when they're in the forest, so the animals they came and attacked, right? They died as a result of that. So there are also so many occasions they had to attain Parinibbana. That time they don't have the attachment. They just think, oh, the kamma is very powerful, what to do? So just attain Parinibbana. There's no hold in it. Okay. In our life, we have that form, that inverted perception. How perception is happening? Because of the contact. What are the wrong perception we have? All these perceptions are happening from our eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, and mind, right? All the perception is happening with the contact. We have a wrong, inverted perception, not the right way. We think that disgusting things as beautiful, right? So that is the inverted perception. We think that things are impermanent, but we see as the permanent. We think that the things are sorrow, but we think as the happiness. We think it is not under our control. It is really, it is not under our control, but it is, we see it is I am mine, myself. That's why that it is not really our control. Usually we think as a normal, but it is inverted perception. So somebody became enlightened, they change that perception right way. They think as really they are, the reality of that. So foulness the things as foulness, and sorrow things as sorrow, and impermanent things as impermanent, and not I am mine, myself as it is. Okay.
Suppose because a man would remove a hot clay pot from a potter's kiln and set it on smooth ground, its heat would be dissipated right there and pot shreds would be left. So too, when he feels a feeling terminating with the body, terminating with life, he understands with the breakup of the body, following the exhaustion of life, all that is felt, not being delighted in, will become cool right there. Mere bodily remains will be left. What do you think, bhikkhus? Can a bhikkhu whose taints are destroyed generate a meritorious volitional formation or a demeritorious volitional formation or an imperturbable volitional formation? No, Venerable Sir. When there are utterly no volitional formations, with the cessation of volitional formations, would consciousness be discerned? No, Venerable Sir. When there is utterly no consciousness, with the cessation of consciousness, would name and form be discerned? No, Venerable Sir. When there is utterly no name and form, no six sense bases, no contact, no feeling, no craving, no clinging, no existence, no birth, with the cessation of birth, would aging and death be discerned? No, Venerable Sir. Good, bhikkhus. It is exactly so and not otherwise. Place faith in me about this. Bhikkhus, resolve on this. Be free from perplexity and doubt about this. Just this is the end of suffering. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
So that's Buddha explained about that all these enlightened monks, how he destroy all these. Someone destroy this one, and all these paticca is not happening. All these things that is life that enlightened monks, right? So all the regular people, regular existence. So still the paticca is happening to be born into next existence. And but somebody became Sotapanna, they won't be born into bad destination, the 4 bad destination, and hell, animal world, ghost world, and animal world. So only Anagamis, they will be born into 5 form world, pure worlds. So by destroying that, generating understanding of 4 noble truths, right? So, and they destroy ignorance, and they remove that their craving. So therefore, their life is totally removed from all the ashavas, anusayas, and all the things to exist. So they destroy all these existence, right? So by understanding all those things, may all of us be fortunate to understand Paticca dependent origination, and attain supreme bliss of Nibbana in this Gautam Buddha's dispensation. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.